Stop scrolling. Before you even think about buying your next iPhone, you need to see this number. $2,000 for a phone. And I'm not talking about some limited edition gold-plated nonsense. I'm talking about the standard flagship iPhone you'll want to buy in 2026, maybe 2027. And the scariest part? This isn't even the worst-case scenario. Look, I know what you're thinking right now. You've probably got anywhere from $800 to $1,200 mentally budgeted for your next upgrade. Maybe you're on the iPhone upgrade program. Maybe you're planning to trade in your iPhone 14 or 15. You're thinking, I've got this figured out. I know how much iPhones cost. But here's the thing. There's a war happening right now that has nothing to do with your carrier plan or Apple's marketing. And your wallet? It's about to become the battlefield. This isn't me fear-mongering or doing typical tech YouTube clickbait. Let me show you what's happened in just the last 90 days. Literally 10 hours ago. As of when I'm recording this on December 16th, 2025, Reuters dropped a bombshell. Global smartphone shipments are expected to decline 2.1% next year. First time in over a decade. The reason? Quote, rising chip costs are pushing prices up and demand down. In September 2025, TSMC, that's Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company, the people who make the actual brain of your iPhone, they publicly announced they're ending what they called the era of affordable semiconductors. Their exact words. And here's where it gets wild. Just 5 days ago, industry analysis confirmed that U.S.-China tariffs could raise iPhone prices by 30% in 2025 alone. Not 2026. Not next year. This year. We're already living in it. But here's the part that almost nobody outside the semiconductor industry actually understands. And this is where things get genuinely scary. There are only 3 companies on planet Earth that can manufacture the advanced chips that power your iPhone. Not 30. Not 13. 3. Intel in the United States, Samsung in South Korea, and TSMC in Taiwan. Now here's the insane part. Of those 3, only one company has actually mastered the bleeding-edge 3nm and 2nm process technology that Apple needs for the A17, A18, and future chips. TSMC. That's it. One company, on one island, that happens to be sitting at the geopolitical epicenter of the biggest global power struggle since the Cold War. Now, I need you to understand the stakes here because this isn't abstract. Every single iPhone chip, 100% of them, gets manufactured in Taiwan at TSMC's fabrication plants. Not some percentage. Not mostly. All of them. So what happens when tensions between China and Taiwan escalate? What happens when the United States government starts treating semiconductors like a national security issue? Well, we already know. In August 2025, there was a proposal for a 100% tariff on semiconductors. 100%. That means if a chip costs Apple $50 to buy, it would suddenly cost $100 after tariffs. Now, Apple fought back on this hard. They got lobbyists, they've got economic arguments. But here's what you need to understand. The fact that this was even proposed tells you where we're heading. And TSMC knows it too. They're scrambling to build factories in Arizona, Germany, and Japan. Know what they discovered? It costs 2 to 3 times more to manufacture the exact same chip outside of Taiwan. Who do you think pays for that difference? You do. Okay, so let me break down the 3 forces that are converging right now to create what I'm calling the 2026 price shock. And I want you to pay attention to how these aren't separate problems. They're multiplying each other. Force number 1, manufacturing cost explosion. TSMC didn't just raise prices a little bit. In September 2025, they announced what industry insiders are calling the end of Moore's Law economics. For 30 years, chips got cheaper per transistor every generation. That's over. The transition from 3nm to 2nm technology is so complex, so expensive, that prices are going up instead of down. And here's the kicker. TSMC's building these new fabs, fabrication plants, in America and Europe cost them over $28 billion in Arizona alone. They're passing every penny of that cost on to customers like Apple. Force number 2, the tariff time bomb. This one's already detonating. Reports from just last week confirm that iPhones manufactured in China, which is most of them right now, face a potential 43% price increase if current tariff proposals go through. Let me put that in real numbers. The iPhone 16 Pro Max with 1 terabyte of storage costs $1,599 today. A 43% increase? That's $2,287. Round that up, $2,300 for a phone. Now, will Apple eat some of that cost? Maybe, but their margins are already under pressure, which brings me to force number 3, the memory crisis nobody's talking about. Apple has long-term contracts for DRAM. That's the memory in your iPhone, with Samsung and SK Hynix. These contracts lock in prices for years at a time. Guess when those contracts expire? 2026. And market data from literally 2 days ago shows DRAM prices have risen exceptionally sharply. Why? Because AI servers, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, all those AI tools everyone's obsessed with, they're sucking up all the high-bandwidth memory production. Samsung and SK Hynix are prioritizing AI chips over smartphone chips because that's where the money is. When Apple has to renegotiate those contracts in 2026, they're going to pay 20 to 30% more, minimum. And you already know where that cost goes. All right, so let's game this out. It's September 2026. Apple's announcing the iPhone 18. What does the price sheet actually look like? Conservative estimate. And I mean conservative, assuming Apple absorbs some costs and tariffs don't get worse. iPhone 18 base model with 128 gigabytes, $999. That's up from $799, a $200 jump. iPhone 18 Pro, $1,299, up from $999, $300 more. iPhone 18 Pro Max with 512 gigs, $1,799. With 1 terabyte, we're looking at $1,999. $2,000 for a phone. Now that's the realistic scenario. The worst-case scenario, if U.S.-China tensions explode, if Taiwan gets blockaded, if tariffs go full nuclear, CNN already reported that fully U.S.-manufactured iPhones could cost $3,500. But here's the really messed up part that nobody's saying out loud. You'll still buy it. Because what's the alternative? Samsung? They use the same TSMC chips. Same supply chain. Same problems. Google Pixel? TSMC again. The entire smartphone industry is riding on the same 3 manufacturers I mentioned earlier. There is no escape hatch. You're trapped in this with the rest of us. But wait, because there's a layer to this that almost nobody's connecting the dots on. And when I figured this out, it honestly kind of blew my mind. If it's so expensive to manufacture in America, like comically expensive, then why is Apple aggressively building manufacturing capacity in India and Vietnam right now? Apple doesn't do anything without a 10-year plan. They know what's coming. They're diversifying their manufacturing base as fast as humanly possible because they've run the same simulations we're talking about. But here's the dark truth. Those factories won't be ready to handle full iPhone production until 2027, maybe 2028. They can do final assembly now, putting pieces together, but the complex components? Still coming from China and Taiwan. Translation: for the next 2 to 3 years, we're stuck in this price squeeze. There's no relief coming. The supply chain doesn't magically fix itself. And here's the other thing Apple's not advertising. They've been pushing subscriptions hard for the last 3 years. Apple One, iCloud Plus, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Fitness Plus, Apple Arcade. You think that's a coincidence? When hardware margins get squeezed, you pivot to services. It's business strategy 101. They're preparing for a world where they can't make as much money selling you a phone every year, so they need to make money from you every month instead. The iPhone isn't becoming a product anymore. It's becoming the entry ticket to a subscription ecosystem. And that shift, it's happening because of everything I just told you. Now, some of you might be thinking, phones have always gotten more expensive. The first iPhone was $499 in 2007, and flagship phones have been over $1,000 for years now. What's the big deal? And you're not wrong. Price inflation has been happening. But here's why this time is fundamentally different. From 2007 to 2020, iPhone prices went up, but you got massively better technology. The iPhone 4 to iPhone 11, night and day difference in cameras, screens, processors, battery life. You were paying more, but you were getting exponentially more value. But from 2020 to now, the improvements are incremental. The iPhone 12 to iPhone 16, yeah, the cameras got better. The chip got faster, but it's not revolutionary anymore. We hit the plateau. So what's happening now is you're about to pay substantially more for roughly the same incremental upgrades you've been getting. Except now the price jump isn't funding innovation. It's funding geopolitics, tariffs, and supply chain restructuring. You're paying the global instability tax. And that's the part that nobody wants to say out loud. Plus, here's the other historical difference. This is the first time in smartphone history where the entire industry is facing simultaneous supply constraints and geopolitical pressure. When iPhone prices went up before, you could switch to Android and save money. Now, Android flagships are hitting the same price ceiling. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, $1,399. The Google Pixel 9 Pro XL, $1,099. We're all in the same boat, and the boat is taking on water. Okay, enough doom and gloom. You clicked on this video to understand what's happening, but you also need to know what to do about it. So I've got 5 strategies, and some of these are going to sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. Strategy number 1. Buy now if you're already planning to upgrade. If you're sitting on iPhone 12 or 13 and you're already thinking about upgrading this year, do it now. Do it before the iPhone 17 price announcement in September. The iPhone 16 Pro, it's probably the last old pricing structure flagship you'll ever see. Prices are only going one direction, and it's not down. The window is closing. Strategy number 2. The previous generation play. When the iPhone 17 launches in September, the iPhone 16 will drop to $699 for the 128 gig model. That's still the old pricing we're used to. If you can live without the absolute latest features, this is your move. Historically, Apple drops previous gen phones by $100 to $200. But there's a catch. In 2026, they might keep prices higher because demand will stay high. So this strategy has an expiration date too. Strategy number 3, the longevity game. This is for the people who are tired of getting fleeced by the upgrade cycle. Keep your phone longer. Your iPhone 13, still getting iOS updates. Still has a great camera. Still runs every app perfectly. Your iPhone 14, arguably still in its prime. Apple supports phones for about 5 to 6 years of software updates. If you bought an iPhone 14 in 2022, you're good until 2027 or 2028. Why are you even thinking about upgrading? The upgrade every year mentality was invented by marketing departments. Break the cycle. Strategy number 4, the used market goldmine. Here's something wild that's happening right now. Because people are anticipating these price hikes, the resale value of current generation iPhones is actually going up. A used iPhone 15 Pro in good condition, holding 85 to 90% of its original value right now, way higher than the typical 70 to 75% depreciation. If you got a recent iPhone, it's worth more than you think. And if you're buying, certified refurbished from Apple or trusted sellers like Swappa or Backmarket. You can get a year-old flagship for 30 to 40% off and avoid this entire mess. Strategy number 5, the nuclear option. Leave the ecosystem. Now, I know this is heresy on a tech channel, but hear me out. If you're not deep into the Apple ecosystem, like you don't have a MacBook, Apple Watch, AirPods, the whole 9 yards, consider whether you need to stay on iPhone. Mid-range Android phones in 2025 are shockingly good. The Google Pixel 8a, $499. The Samsung Galaxy A55, also around $450. 90% of the performance for half the price. I'm not saying everyone should switch, but if your loyalty is just habit and not necessity, it's worth questioning. Before we wrap up, I want to zoom out for a second because this isn't just an iPhone story. This is a welcome to the new era of technology story. For the last 20 years, we've lived in the golden age of consumer electronics. Devices got better and cheaper every year. Your TV got bigger and cost less. Your computer got faster and cost less. Your phone got smarter and, well, it cost more, but you got way more for your money. That era is over. We're entering what economists call cost-push inflation in the tech sector. Supply chains are fracturing. Geopolitics is weaponizing technology. Energy costs for chip manufacturing are skyrocketing. Water usage for fabs is becoming a political issue in places like Arizona and Taiwan. The smartphone in your pocket is the most complex supply chain in human history. It has components from 43 countries. It requires rare earth minerals, precision manufacturing, global logistics networks. And all of that, it was built on an assumption of global stability and cooperation. That assumption is breaking. So when I say your next iPhone might cost $2,000, I'm not just talking about Apple being greedy or tariffs being stupid. I'm talking about a fundamental restructuring of how technology gets made and who pays for it. And the answer to who pays is always the same. We do. The consumers. Because we're the ones holding the device at the end of the chain. But here's the thing. Once you understand the game, you can make better decisions. You can opt out of parts of it. You can refuse to play by their rules. And that's why I made this video. All right, if you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of viewer I make these videos for. Most people bounce after 2 minutes. You stuck around because you actually care about understanding this stuff. So do me a couple favors. Number 1, drop a comment right now telling me what you're going to do. Are you buying the iPhone 16 this year before prices jump? Are you riding your current phone into the ground? Are you switching to Android? I'm genuinely curious, and I read every comment. Number 2, share this video. I know that sounds like typical YouTuber begging, but here's why I'm asking. 95% of people have no idea this is coming. Your friends, your family, they're going to get blindsided by a $2,000 iPhone announcement in 2026 and feel helpless. Send them this. Give them the knowledge to make better decisions. That's what this channel is about. And number 3, if you're not subscribed, hit that button. Because next week, I'm doing a deep dive on Apple's subscription strategy and why they're designing the iPhone to break faster now that hardware profits are shrinking. You're not going to want to miss that. Oh, and one more thing I didn't mention in this video. There's a reason Apple's been making iPhones harder to repair. A reason batteries are glued in. A reason parts are serialized so third-party repairs don't work. When you can't afford a new iPhone anymore, they need to make sure you can't just fix your old one either. That story? That's coming next week. See you there.